Dona Gracia made her mark throughout Europe as she traveled from place to place, escaping the Inquisition. But her influences felt far wider than the places she physically inhabited. As we dive into the woman behind the title La Senora, we find ourselves first in Portugal. Born into a well-known Jewish Spanish family, Gracia Nasi was originally given the Christian name of Beatriz de Luna. Her family assumed the name de Luna after they had been forcibly baptized in Portugal. Little is known of her early life, but we may assume that, as with other converso families, when she was 12 years old, her Judaism was revealed to her, along with her Hebrew name, Hana Gracia Nasi. So remember that name, but keep it a secret, because even at the age of 12, to the outside world, she was still Beatriz. Now back to the records that we have of her life. In 1528, she married Francisco Mendez Benveniste, a successful converso merchant in Lisbon. The couple had a daughter, Ana, but not much after Francisco passed, leaving his fortune and business half to his wife and half to his daughter, although a lot of his assets were already under his brother Diogo's control in Antwerp. Essentially, this was done according to Portuguese inheritance law, but even so, Beatriz proved very capable of taking charge of her inheritance. When, in 1536, the Portuguese Inquisition was established, the de Luna and Mendez families were in trouble. They most likely had been secretly practicing Judaism, and if they were caught, all their fortune would be confiscated. Beatrice made a calculated decision and went to Antwerp with her daughter, her younger sister Brianda, and her 2 nephews. In Antwerp, they met up with Diogo Mendez. Remember, Francisco's brother who controlled the other part of the family fortune? They proved to be a good team, Diogo and Beatriz, as they set up an underground system to get conversos like themselves from Christian Europe to the Ottoman Empire. For you see, even when conversos escaped Spain or Portugal, the hand of the Inquisition was right behind them, and so seemingly nowhere in Christian Europe was safe. In the meantime, Brianda and Diogo married, as was the family custom at the time. The newlyweds had a daughter whom they named Beatriz after her aunt. And then, not much after, Diogo passed. Not only did he pass shortly after the marriage like Francisco, but he took after his brother in another way. He too left his half of the fortune for Beatriz to manage, which of course led to rifts later on between the sisters. When Beatriz realized both the authorities and greedy suitors were after her fortune, she arranged for her family to move on to Venice. There, they kept their Catholic facade for strategic reasons, mainly to avoid being limited to the local ghetto, as other Jews were. And still, it was quite a wonder for Beatrice to see Jews practicing their Judaism freely, even if it was within the confines of a ghetto. In the meantime, Brianda was sick of her sister controlling the fortune and turned her sister in to the authorities, and so Beatrice was arrested. But when a figure like Beatrice was taken in, it didn't go over so easily. You see, her nephew, Joseph Nasi, turned to the Sultan of the Ottoman Empire, who essentially threatened a war on Venice if she wasn't released. Now you can only imagine what happened next. Okay, so Beatrice was set free and realized she once again needed to be on the move. So she picked up and went a few miles south to Ferrara. As for Brianda, who turned her in, well, she had no choice but to follow. Ferrara, Italy, was home to a not-so-small ex-converso community, and Beatrice became an active part of it, especially the literary and printing projects of the local Jewish community, including the Ferrara Bible, a version of the Bible translated to Spanish to help conversos escaping the Inquisition who most likely didn't know Hebrew. The initial copies were dedicated to Beatrice or Dona Gracia herself. While in Ferrara, Beatrice again played a role in helping Spanish Inquisition refugees relocate to the Ottoman Empire. But after a brief return to Venice, where the dispute between the Nasi sisters was finally settled, Beatrice was once again on the move. This time she settled in Constantinople, today known as Istanbul. And for the first time in decades, the family was once again able to practice their Judaism openly. Enter Dona Gracia Nasi, the more common name for the legend that is Beatriz de Luna. In Constantinople, Dona Gracia once again aided Spanish refugees and captives, but also her local Ottoman Jewish community. Along with supporting rabbis, hospitals, and synagogues, she established a yeshiva and synagogue in Salonika and other cities. The former was called Academy of the Geveret, and the latter Synagogue of the Senora, referring to two epithets given to Dona Gracia. Skip ahead a couple of years, and Dona Gracia, along with her nephew Joseph Nasi, take on another large project. They turn to the ancient city of Tiberias, or Tiberia, in current-day Israel, and seek to build it into a self-sufficient settlement for the refugees of the Spanish and Portuguese Inquisitions. She obtained rights to the ruins of the ancient city and 7 surrounding villages, and they built there immediately. Unfortunately, the Jewish settlement there did not last long due to opposition from the surrounding Arab communities. Still, to commemorate Dona Gracia's efforts, there is a museum and hotel in Tiberias today under her name. Dona Gracia passed in 1569, leaving a legacy of strength and leadership in the face of adversity and a deep commitment to Judaism and her fellow Jews.